You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again to commence our broadcast week here on the Options Insider Radio Network. Kick off the slew, the legion of fun you guys have in store for you this week. If you guys haven't seen it, we've been tweeting. We always put out the email for all of our subscribers out there getting, here's what you're getting on the network this week. But also, we've been tweeting it out these days as well. You get a cool graphic showing you exactly what you can expect on the network this week. You may have also noticed we changed things up a little bit. Crypto Rundown was not going to be after the show today. Moved it to tomorrow with some of the interviews and everything else we have going on tomorrow, because I was trying to be a good dad. I was trying to get good dad points. You know, if you watch playoff baseball, the White Sox pushing the series to Game 4. It's going to be right down the street. My son's favorite team. He is off today for the Federal Holiday. I thought, you know what? I'll get some good dad points today. I'll scramble, get some overpriced playoff tickets, and I'll race out right after the show, I should say, and we'll go see the game down the street. Should be fun. Of course, lo and behold, apocalyptic storms rolling into the Chicagoland area. They've already canceled the game for today. So you know things are going to be bad. So it looks like we probably are going to have Crypto Rundown at the usual time today after all. So good stuff. The game has been rescheduled for tomorrow, so that may wreak havoc with some of our pro Q&A scheduling there. But our producers are working diligently behind the scenes to get it all worked out. So you're going to have crypto today after all. Maybe have a different person on the pro Q&A session tomorrow. All sorts of fun irons in the fire out there and things up in the air, which is fun. We have some cool people lined up for you folks tomorrow. And it should be a fun crypto rundown. We're going to have Simon Hovey, Spike's father. He'll be back on soon. It's hard, you know, he's asleep right now, so we can't really change it for him over there. It's dark in the early morning hours over there in Sydney right now for him. But we'll have a fun crypto rundown nonetheless. Today and a whole bunch of other fun stuff coming up this week. Again, head on over to @options to check out what's coming up for the week. Also to play along in our cool Twitter poll. We got a fun one up there. I'll get to it a little bit later right now. But now it is time to commence our broadcast week, listeners. And you know how we like to do that. It's with our one and only game that we play here on the Option Block. It is time to name that 80s wrestler. That's your hint. That's your taste. That's your tease for this week. I know there's one guy out there champing at the bit, hitting his mic button, say, call me, put me in, coach. But we're not going to do that yet. Instead, we're going to go out to the land of Maine, to the fortress-like GIOVINAZZI compound, where we are welcoming on the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI, because we know he has literally no idea who these people are, which will be fun. Let's go out to him first. Mr. Rock Lobster, A, welcome back to the program. B, congratulations on the one time I can't really mock you for the dark and stormy shores, so it's probably going to be pretty dark and stormy here pretty soon. And then C, do you have any guess as to who, I will give you a hint, it's not just one wrestler this week, it's a tag team. So who those wrestlers, plural, are, sir?
It sounds like some Force of the Dark Lord or something. That's what I'm going for. The Dark Lord twosome.
Force of the Dark Lord. All right. You know, you're not that far off when you hear who these people actually are, and if you look them up and see a picture of them, you can see them. There is red and black in their costume and stuff, so you can maybe see them described as Force of the Dark Lord. I've heard them described as many things. They've been called, poor man's demolition. They've been called, I think they were voted recently the worst tag team in the history of all time. So a lot of people have kind of a, shall we say, a dismissing viewpoint of them, except our next cohort right now, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, A, welcome back to the program. And B, can you name this poor man's demolition, sir?
Oh, I can name it. It's the greatest tag team of all time, as confirmed by the most important opinion on our show, our listeners, in our poll that we did last May 13th. Feel free to reference it on my Twitter. The Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom. These guys are the best. There's the Road Warriors and there's everything else. You can't compare them to anything else. They're just that good.
How nice am I? I give you the Rockers on your birthday. So as a belated birthday gift to you, sir, I give you the one and only the Road Warriors that you have been asking me for. I think that's why we created this segment, so you could guess the Road Warriors, is it not?
I mean, I don't know of anything better. Mark, you made my day with this, so now I'm extra fired up for the show. I'm going to start jumping off top ropes, and I'm going to start just taking folding chairs and hitting things around the office. I'm pumped right now.
All right, so if you hear some smashing and banging going on Uncle Mike's side, listeners, you know what he's doing. He's living out his childhood Road Warriors fantasy. As we keep on rolling, right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading, and also, once again, more proof that it is folly to attempt to prepare for these shows too far in advance, because the market is a fickle and indeed a capricious beast, and it goes whither it wants, and it just takes the show along with it. Coming into showtime, it had seemed like earlier in the morning we were heading for one of these kind of pretty firm green days, nothing spectacular, but pretty firmly ensconced in the green territory, and most of the vol products were trending down a little bit, and then we see a little bit of red creeping into the screen. Now, NASDAQ still up slightly, not even 0.1%. S&P and Dow now in the red, off almost 0.1% each, somewhere in that ballpark for them. So we have seen a little bit of maybe that bloom coming off the rose out there, as it happens a lot. Sometimes whatever move we have early in the session, sometimes you have to fade it because other things prevail and drive us completely in another direction these days. A lot of things creeping up. It seemed strange to me we were rallying so hard in the early morning session anyway, because it seemed like a lot of the early news wasn't exactly spectacular. Of course, everyone knows crude back above $80, so probably a bit of a albatross around the neck of the global economy out there. Of course, we do have earnings season coming up, but that hasn't really kicked off in earnest yet, so it'd be hard to rally unless you're just super optimistic about that. We'll get into some more details about what to expect from there a little bit later in the show as well. So coming into showtime, we're seeing a bit of a mixed bag out there. VIX was off more now. Coming at showtime right at the start of the show is right around an 1875. That puts it down about 0.75 point from last show. VVIX actually up a point, up to about 108 out there. VXX was holding firm right around a 24.5 level when we kicked off the show. Puts it down about 0.75 point from this time last week. UVXY flirting with threatening to break the 20 handle. Not quite there, listeners, but getting pretty darn close. Down about 1.5 points from the Thursday show. And VolQ at the money vol and NASDAQ kind of sitting pretty, saying, I don't know what I'm going to do today. It's literally unched from our show on Thursday at about a 1975. And because he guessed it, and because it's kind of a post-birthday gift, we shall go out to Uncle Mike first. Hey, Uncle Mike, I'm sure you have many of them. What are your enduring memories of the Road Warriors? And then B, if there's time with the rest of the show, what is lighting up your tape, sir?
I'll try and be as brief as I can on the Road Warriors, because I probably really could talk for a full hour on the Hawk, the Animal, their manager, Precious Paul Ellering, with everything that they did to basically change wrestling, quite frankly. And there's no other group that did as a team like what they did. They were some of the most intimidating talkers that you could ever see. They'd always yell in the mic like any other wrestler, but then their trademark, whenever Animal would talk, he'd say, "Tell him, Hawk," right afterwards. Or whenever Hawk would talk, when it was Animal's turn, he'd go, "Tell him, Animal." And then there'd always be some type of wit and wisdom with the greatest manager in wrestling history, Precious Paul Ellering. Close second, Bobby the Brain Heenan, by the way. And so with that, they just took beating people up to a new level. They were so bad that even though they were heels, the crowds loved them everywhere that they went. And can't say enough great things about what they were as a wrestler. Didn't have the greatest of lifestyles, as most wrestlers, but in the end, Hawk did give his life to Christ and tried to become do things right at the end of his life. And unfortunately, he passed away, I believe, in 2003. And then the Animal, he passed away. I think we just had the 1 year anniversary of when the Animal passed away. And he actually had a son. The Animal had a son who played football for Ohio State and then had a career in the NFL. And just out of curiosity, do you guys know what his nickname was?
Would it be the Animal?
Little Animal is what they call it.
Little Animal. Okay, yeah. So I knew it had to be something animal.
So anyway, that's my little bit of trivia or a little bit of knowledge about the Road Warriors. If anyone wants to talk Road Warriors, I can talk Road Warriors for hours. And so, but with that, we are not a wrestling program. We are a market program. So let's get into that. And quite honestly, talking about the Road Warriors would be a lot more interesting than the markets today. We did rally early, and I'm not really sure why we were rallying early, to be honest. I didn't see any news. The only thing that I can think of is that this is kind of it's a holiday, but it's not really a holiday. And a lot of times just weird stuff happens on lower volume, and that's the only explanation that I would have as to why we were rallying early. I have minimal delta. I don't think I could possibly have any less delta on the table than I have without having no positions on, quite honestly. And I'm kind of waiting and seeing to see where the week goes. I'd actually like to see a little bit more of a rally at this stage before I bought more into this market. I think that we are just kind of just at a stage to where we're waiting and seeing, but I don't know if anyone knows what we're waiting and seeing or what we're waiting for and waiting to see, if that makes any sense. We're relatively flat, and my beloved silver is flat on the day. VIX, it's up 25 cents, so not really a lot of movement there. And then just throughout the sectors, there's really not a ton of movement. We were up roughly a little over 20 points in the SPX earlier in the day, but we are back to being flat right now. So at this stage, there's really not a lot happening. We're having a little bit of a sell-off in the 10-year note, but nothing too crazy. And really, I think that there's people working today, as we are, but I don't know if everyone's working today, so I think it's just going to be a low-volume, boring kind of day, and that's what I'm seeing.
Speaking of what we're seeing, we're going to do it one more time. We are wading back into these waters. We have a fun question of the week going live. It went live already yesterday on our Twitter, but in honor of this belated birthday gift, we're going back into those waters, and we are going to do it one more time. A quick flash poll, only live during the length of the show, pretty much, listeners. And we're asking you quite simply, who is the greatest, or what really is the greatest pro wrestling tag team of all time? Gave you three choices. Threw an extra one in there just for fun. Demolition, the Road Warriors, the Hart Foundation, and other. And if you choose other, you have to explain yourself. Who is your other idea? And in the early voting, it was all Demolition. We'll see if I may have voted myself. I'm just saying. But Demolition was running away with it early on. Get in there at options and play along. This is again, we're going to correct the errors of history here. As we keep on rolling, let's get on out to the Rock Lobster. He's shaking his head. He has literally no idea what the hell we're talking about. But Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what is lighting up your tape out there in a day when the markets are kind of trying to figure themselves out, sir? Just like you're trying to figure out this segment.
I'm just I've just read something. Gavin Newsom just banned lawnmowers in California. Like,
Wow. Okay, that's out of left field, but
I know. I just
it's one of those
see
days.
news. It was like, well, that guy won the recall election. I think he's gone totally insane afterward. But anyway, if you live in California, write in and say, hey, did you see that that lawnmower gas ban?
So I guess John Deere is cratering now, a Caterpillar, all with big lawnmower makers.
I guess so. I guess everybody has to go out and buy battery-powered lawnmowers. I guess that's the thing. So I'm glad Gavin's keeping things going. What am I? Yeah, I actually have to say, kind of an odd day as far as as from a trade point of view. When like things kind of, it looks like we kind of came back a little at the end of last week. I know I was kind of off. I had kind of a difficult week last week myself. But as far as not trading wise, but just life wise. And then I'm looking at what's going on from a vol point of view. And, we traded down to like around at low 18. And I think VIX was trying to get in there. We've had a little bit of a brush up on the vol today, I would say. Like vol was lower, the VIX was lower this morning, the futures were lower this morning, and everything's kind of drifting back higher again. There was like a press on commodities, there's a press on oil. Oil's at what, a multi-year high at $80 a barrel right now. I remember not very long ago, they couldn't give oil away. And I guess now it's a year and a half ago, basically, the sort of what we'll call the nadir of COVID.
If you recall, in those times, like we talked about it on TWIFO all the time, the calls could not catch a bid in WTI to save nobody. I don't care what you did. They blew up the Saudi fields. They did whatever. The WTI calls could not catch a bid to save their lives. And now here we are, pretty much 2x from those levels.
Well, exactly. And now you're seeing, and I think what's holding a lot of the major oil companies, like let's say Exxon is trading well off of its like long time highs. And I've been kind of like been an oil bull here for a while on the show, and I've been sort of I've been reducing technology and going into oil, and I started buying more pharma over like the last 4 months or something, as I get out of technology or some of the just kind of valuation. I still have a little left, but I've just been doing the big portfolio switcheroo, and I still last year buying oil and watching it like, and that wasn't very fun when we went back in November. Remember we had like oil stocks, like everything's going to come back, and then everything dove back down into October 2020. Near the lows, and you could pick up more for just unreal prices. A lot of those stocks have doubled since then. So you think of, is it just tech stocks going up, but oil stocks have doubled since October last year. So in a year. But the thing is we're still not seeing what I would call higher prices relative. Because oil at $80 a barrel, I think there's something to all this. They don't quite know what's going on with the Biden administration with oil and the green agenda. Like all that does is kind of throw confusing signals up there, in my opinion. And as TOSAW and I think both agree on, and the market doesn't like uncertainty, right? It likes a clear path, and there's like lines for gas and oil now. Truckers are not unloading ships on the West Coast. I mean, they even think part of that pipeline problem was from a ship in the, a ship maybe doing something, hitting a pipeline or something. And again, that's just speculation, by the way. So there's like a lot of these weird currents of stuff that, like, I'm just going to say shouldn't be wrong at this point, like, okay, oil prices are really high. What's the U.S.? We're not pumping more oil. Not quite sure how that's going. There's gas lines in England. They're thinking there's going to be shortages not seen since the mid 70s. Like, that's a lot of weird stuff when they're really, like, when I have to be on, like, I think from like the COVID point of view, people are still like freaking out about it. Like, there is a vaccine, like, we should be moving on, in my opinion. And it seems like we're kind of still stuck going through this. Now there's like supply chain shortages. Like, I think some, and again, in my opinion, some broad mismanagement on the federal level is making all these small things more complicated. More than they should be, and it's causing actual economic problems. I mean, I think the shelves look emptier now than they were a year ago, to be honest. So, I mean, I go to supermarkets now, and I don't know about you guys, but at least in Maine, like half the market, like the shelves are kind of empty. Like, they're not totally empty, but the supply is definitely much less than it was even 6 months, 8 months ago. So I think there's a reason for those problems. Are they going to get solved? Don't know. But anyway, that's more of and I guess you guys had a guy on Vol Views, a couple guys just talking about skew and things like that. And, I think there's a reason why there's, why volatility is higher, right? The reason why vol gets higher is because there's no sellers. And I think right now that's, is that fund there just whacking out puts like crazy? They might be selling calls, but it doesn't feel like they're selling puts, at least from a skew point of view, is still there. So anyway, long story short, vol is just not collapsing. And that is always, to me, troublesome. Like the zone 3, when you don't break out of it into lower vol, there's still something under there that's underpinning it. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if if the market started to do a bit more of a retrace this week and start drifting back below 4,300 and on the way down again. So none of that would surprise me, just from the fact alone that just we're not seeing that punch down in vol.
Let's see what we are seeing out there in today's marketplace. A little bit of paper trickling in as this back and forth usually tends to gin up the numbers a wee bit. Coming into right now, actually, VIX at a little bit shy of 200,000 contracts, about 198,000 contracts. That's still decent paper, but not. The ADV has ticked up, obviously, over the last few weeks. It's threatening 500K now, 474,000. So got a little bit of a ways to go before it's at the halfway point, but looking pretty robust out there in VIX land. If this turnaround continues, that may drive some more paper. SPY at 2.75 million contracts. The ADV about 5.8. So closing in on 6 million contracts ADV for SPY, which is a lot of paper. The S, 856,000 contracts. That's pretty good paper for the S's right now as well. But the ADV has ticked up to 1.75 million. That's a lot of paper for the S. Not that long ago, it was threatening, struggling to break 1 million out there on any given day. So a bit of rebound out there in the land of the S. The Q's actually lighter than the S today, 788,000 contracts. The ADV also lighter, 1.67 million. That's interesting. And IWM looks like the laggard of the bunch today, 165,000 contracts. The ADV, 644,000 contracts. Move on out to the top 10 out there. Kind of a light day out there as well. Only cost you $1.75 to break into the top 10 today. That gets you not to Creedence Clearwater Revival. That'd be cool, no. But CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines out there, 175,000 contracts. Got a feeling we'll be coming back to them in a little bit, so hold your horses there. Number 9, Facebook, $1.82 out there. We all know what a intriguing couple of weeks it has been for Facebook. That saga continues, and it continues to drive decent paper out there. Number 8, it's Ford, the on-again, off-again meme name known as Ford. Let's see what Ford is up to today. Ford, 1510, kind of unched on the day, but good for 186,000 contracts out there. Number 7, old school telephone. Number 7, 191,000, a.k.a. AT&T. I can't help but call it what the old timers used to call it, because apparently telephone was easier than saying AT&T. I don't know. Go figure. They were a bunch of weirdos down there in the Florida back in the day. 191,000 for number 7. Number 6, the symbol Twinology, back in full force. First, we have AMD, 205,000 contracts, number 6. Then number 5, right after it, it's brethren there, AMC, 327,000 contracts. Number 4, staying with the meme love out there, it's SOFI. This is the online personal finance company, ticker symbol SOFI, SOFI. Good for 372,000 contracts. Looks like it's had a pretty nice run, up about $2 pretty much today. So nice pop out there in SOFI today, driving some paper. Number 3, it's BABA, 438,000 contracts. Numero dos, it's Tesla, 743,000, and taking the top spot this week, 783,000 contracts for Apple. Like I said, a light day. That's decent paper for Tesla, but for Apple, that's not a lot. And to break in, only 175,000 contracts. So not the most robust of days, but we are looking forward to a robust earnings season. We got the new numbers coming in hot off the presses from our friends over there at OTIS Land. We also have some cool earnings outlooks coming from the folks like Wall Street Horizon, for example, crunches a lot of the data out there. They're also expecting a interesting cycle coming in on here. They're talking about the impact of the commodity crunch. We're talking about that, the growing global energy crisis and labor shortages, how that's going to impact the numbers coming out this cycle. Also, the supply chain shortages still impacting a lot of firms. But they say expectations are high. Aggregate profits have topped Wall Street's expectations by 15 to 21% since the second quarter of last year. We all know what happened back then. So they're expecting, is it going to be 6 quarters in a row of booming earnings? Estimates right now are higher than they were back on June 30th, even though the aggregate earnings per share forecast has come down from its high in September. So a little bit of a tale of two cities there in terms of the data. They're looking at both sides of the coin there, apparently. But looking here, they also do have a couple of outliers they are paying attention to in terms of single names. They are expecting maybe some potential earnings outliers in HCA Healthcare. They're popping off on the 22nd. They're watching out for them. They say they're facing a 12.2% nursing shortage. They're a healthcare provider, obviously. Also looking at some interesting issues with their earnings and net income flatlining. So they're paying attention to them as a potential earnings outlier. Also, Crown Holdings, ticker symbol CCK. This is a consumer discretionary company. They've seen their shares wobble. They make beverage cans and bottles. Also, apparently some issues with corporate actions out of Europe that are weighing on them. So 2 to keep an eye on this cycle. In terms of what we have coming up this week, it's really kicking off into high gear this week, listeners. We got the financials, as you would expect, kicking it all off. We got JP Morgan on Wednesday. We've got BlackRock on Wednesday. Also Delta Airlines. That'll be interesting. Southwest, of course, canceling pretty much a quarter of all of its flights this weekend. So a lot of drama in the airline sector of late. Thursday, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, back to the pizza vol. Domino's Pizza also on Thursday. Alcoa, what's going on in the aluminum space? We'll find out. Commodities obviously on a tear of late. And Morgan Stanley and U.S. Bancorp. Friday, Goldman, Charles Schwab, and PNC. Again, we got the earnings move reports hot off the presses from our friends over there at OTIS Land right now. Let's look at a couple of them really quickly. Delta Airlines, before the bell on the 13th. They're at $43.40 right now. They were pricing in $1.38. In the past, they've moved 95 cents. So extra juice in the airline sector. Easy for me to say. Again, given recent headlines, hard to say that isn't warranted. JP Morgan on the 13th as well before the bell. 170 pretty much even is where they're trading. As of this report, at least, they were pricing in $3.88. In the past, they moved $3.10. So extra juice in the financials. Let's go to Bank of America. Let's see if we can make it 3 for 3. 44.34. They're on the 14th before the bell. They're pricing in 131. The past, they've moved 126. So kind of in line out there. Let's go to Citi, 14th before the bell as well. 72.35 is where they are. They're pricing in $1.85. In the past, they moved to $1.86. So, big shoulder shrug there. Domino's Pizza. This is the one we were talking about last week. It's updated numbers, but still just crazy town here. 480 is where they were trading. 27.36 is what they're pricing in. In the past, they've moved 37.83. So, man, how the pizza vol has fallen. Let's go to American Airlines really quickly on the 14th after the bell. $46 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $364. In the past, they've moved $274. So airlines, perhaps one of the last bastions for you folks looking for a little bit of extra juice this earnings season. We're holding firm. We got no numbers to report for this week, obviously, because the season has not begun. But maybe on Thursday, we'll be able to look back and crunch some of these numbers. Intriguing stuff. Will this finally be the season that turns the tide? And actually, who knows, maybe even makes money from a vol buying perspective. Haven't seen that in a long time. We shall see. Meanwhile, it is time to unleash the beast. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for The Odd Block.
All right, welcome to the Odd Block. By the way, I'm not liking how this flash poll is trended. Uncle Mike has now shared it with the vagabonds who follow him. Clearly a dubious bunch, and they have clearly now flooded in with the Road Warriors love. Clearly there's a huge overlap between the Uncle Mike following and the Road Warriors following, because they are now winning with 70.8%. I don't know how this abomination could be unfolding. Clearly an atrocity against Mother Nature itself here. But Demolition only 16.7%. No love for the Heart Foundation, only 4.2%. We got Other getting 8%. Getting some fun write-ins, though, Uncle Mike. We're getting Dory and Terry Funk, so the Funk brothers. Forgot about them. Yeah, Age of Delaquaria sending that one in. Good old Mr. Unlimited sending, the Rock and Sock connection. I forgot about them. So Mick Foley and The Rock. Man, I knew this would bring out some weird corners of the tag team world, and that's exactly what it's doing. So thank you for that, even if your overall votes are clearly a slap in the face of all that is good and holy in the world. Instead, let's keep rolling. I'm sure Demolition will pull it out here. We got time left in the show. Let's keep on rolling out here to what the Eye of Sauron has found today. Let's go out first to, I do believe this is a newcomer to, it's something we haven't talked about in quite some time. And we have talked about this one, but it has been a while. This is Endo International PLC. This is the Irish pharma company out there. By the way, interesting times over there in Ireland. They were one of the few holdouts there to the global corporate tax rate. Anybody who knows these things knows Ireland's been a bit of a tax shelter for quite some time. That's why you saw Google Ireland and all these other HQs popping up just so they could take advantage of nice corporate tax breaks. Seems like maybe those days coming to an end. Ireland finally signing on board to that. How will that impact Endo PLC? I guess we'll find out. Trading right now, Endo is ticker symbol ENDP, by the way, listeners. Trading 414. Been an intriguing year for them. Kind of a bit of a lost year, actually. A year ago, it was trading actually higher, 447. And then they rallied up in the madness of February all the way up to nearly $11, 1089. And then they pretty much gave it all right back. By July, middle of July, they're trading 336, so below where they are right now. Then they had a nice little pop in July, up to about 520 on July 28th. And then they gave it all back again. And they sold off even hard. They got down to $1.94 just about a month ago, September 9th. So they took a nice drubbing. So they pretty much have doubled since then. So I guess it depends on your frame of reference how this stock is doing to you. But in the last month or so, they've doubled. So nice run for them. But over the course of the last year, kind of wasted money. You've lost about 33 cents on this name over the course of the past year. So what is our Eye of Sauron finding? Maybe for the bulls out there, maybe this paper is not so encouraging. This is just a weird print, which, again, that's the whole reason for this segment. 6,100 of the April. I'm assuming these are the monthlies. Are there weeklies listed in April right now? Probably not for this name. So this has got to be, is expiration on the 14th? Let's look really quickly and just go out to April. Okay, so these are 14th. Okay, it's the Thursday. Oh, I think maybe because there's a holiday the next day. That could be probably what it is. Okay, that makes more sense now. But we have the April, so these are effectively the April monthlies. They expire effectively the next day. The April $1 puts, one strike puts, going up 6,100 times, lifting the offer for 15 cents when the stock was a little bit higher, 4.25 actually, so it wasn't even where it is right now. And then they decided, we like this a lot. We're going to come back and do more. To the total of 12,000 had gone up before we started the show. Maybe more have kicked off since then. I don't know, but an intriguing one. So Mr. Rock Lobster, there's a lot to parse here. Obviously, there are earnings between now and April. The next announcement is on November 4th. So you're getting a few cycles worth of earnings, but there's a lot of questions to ask here. Why are you spending, let's say, 15 cents to hedge yourself out at a buck? 15% of the remaining value of your stock at that point. A lot of questions around these, but a lot of paper going up. What are your thoughts on these sizable but somewhat ludicrous $1 puts, sir?
I like the sizable ludicrous. So I have to what do you do? What do you do with the one strike puts? I guess that's my question. Maybe you think that, what is that? Endo Pharmaceuticals is just going to, what do you what do you do with a 15-cent put in a $1 stock?
Thank God I hedged myself out of that level. Thank God I saved all that money.
I mean, I don't think these. It would be one thing, I think, if it was a little bit of line in the sand, but I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing that. I know, because the stock's $4, you're buying the $1 put. I thought this would be more of like a line in the sand type put, but it looks more on the order of they're just paying up for them. So, I mean, are you expecting that $1 stock price? An odd one, right? An odd one. And I'm also looking at a little bit more of the chart here. I mean, it was a $2 stock, so obviously it's, what is it, a biotech, so it's got a little bit of volatility. I mean, it goes from Barrow Pharmaceuticals. It's got $1 billion market cap. Okay, this is, again, another weird one, right? It actually, ENDP actually has revenue. Like, it has revenue, and it's a $2 stock. So the only thing I can think of is that they are possibly, like, what's that opioid? Do they sell opioids? I was wondering if that could be part of their
possible.
Yeah, because it's like that, and because I know, like, stocks like Teva Pharmaceuticals is in the same boat, right? Where the stock trades basically below book value because they have to take all these like loss. They have to take all these holdbacks on earnings because they might have to pay a huge settlement or something. So I think that could be it. So maybe somebody's hedging like a credit default, like a credit portfolio or something like that owns a lot of their bonds.
Yeah, you know what? They have a big open letter on the opioid abuse crisis on their website, and they have settled. Yeah. They have settled some claims, so they are part of this whole opioid ring.
Right. So I think this could be I mean, I think I had to do a little extra sleuthing here, but I think this is a potential hedge against somebody who might be selling, bond insurance or something like that for much more astronomical price than 15 cents on the common for $1. But the weird thing is the term, I'm not seeing how they're going to get any action from the, what are we looking at? Well, I guess April. So that makes sense then. So April cycle, or maybe they're somehow, my guess is they're trying to create some kind of a back spread against, I think once they settle this opioid thing, and I don't know why they keep selling them, to be honest. Like in Maine, what was it? 50 people die a month, I think, from the opioid crisis. I think more people died from an opioid overdose in Maine than of COVID, I believe, in 2020. So I'm not positive, but the numbers are much closer than you would think. So I don't know why they're still selling this stuff, to be honest, but there you go. So
well, you'll be happy to know that Endo admitted no wrongdoing in their. By the way, that nadir of their stock, September 9th, coincided with their settlement on the opioid crisis. So you were on the money. I knew it was probably someone doing CDSs that was probably buying these. That's the only real reason you would even have any reason to buy these things. You're selling those things for tons of money, so the 15 cents is negligible to you. Obviously, all you care about is hedging against a pure default, and that's what a $1 put would be. But still intriguing to see. Yeah, you don't think of an Irish domiciled, generic pharmaceutical name being knee deep in what is a phenomenally American opioid phenomenon, but c'est la vie, they are. So there you go. Intriguing stuff. What do you think about these $1 puts through April, listeners? Hit us up. Let us know. We're going to come back to this one, I think, on Thursday's show, though, because I have another one I want to get to right now. A couple, actually, that are kind of weird. First, let's go off to September 17th to a name from my old stomping grounds, Connecticut. This is OTIS Elevator. They have one of the cooler headquarters I've ever seen. It's just looks like a giant elevator shaft. I'm assuming maybe they test elevators in there. Or either that, just they like symbolism of it. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, a bunch of fields, and then there's this giant elevator shaft looking building. It's kind of weird, but that is OTIS Elevator. Ticker symbol OTIS, appropriately enough. trading right now. Let's see, $82.15. And again, our cup is overflowing in terms of things we have to keep an eye on just going into October expiration. So we got to start hitting some of them now, even though I know they haven't expired yet, listeners. In this case, we're going back to September 17th, so about a month ago on the show. We profiled some upside call love in OTIS elevators. We thought at the time this was kind of interesting and also maybe a little bit of a bridge too far. How much juice can you really expect from OTIS elevators? But someone gobbled up 4,000 of the 90 calls for 55 cents. This was about a 21 vol out there. They lifted the offer on these bad boys, and they don't even get earnings with these. The earnings are on the 25th, so after expiration. So there were a lot of questions about this one. We thought this might be expecting a lot, perhaps too much, from OTIS stock to rally. Where was it at the time? It was 85.36, so it was actually higher than it is right now. And this guy needed a 5-point pop by the end of the expiration. And spoiler alert, he is not getting it. Right now, the stock is at 82.15. It's off $1.25 just today. So not getting the love in OTIS elevator. He's getting the exact opposite of the move he needs. So these bad boys were still open coming into showtime, and obviously they are not looking good. I haven't pulled them up right now, but I'm guessing you could probably buy all that you want for a nickel. So that would put him on the precipice. Obviously, anything could happen by Friday, but he's on the precipice of losing about 220 grand. Mr. Rock Lobster, is that your takeaway as well, sir?
It does look like this elevator ride is not going to go up as of right now.
How long were you cooking that one up, sir?
Unfortunately, much longer than I think it was funny, I believe. I think the listeners would get more of a kick of me trying to formulate the idea than the actual idea itself. So, yes. These calls are not going to go all the way up. However, there's still 3 days left, right? Still 3 days left. So, time, it could happen, although, the market's a little softer today. Mr. TOSAW is even a little cautious. I feel the cautiousness in his voice. His spidey sense is tingling, but I think 90 is going to be a bridge too far. So I don't think this elevator is going to make it to the top. I just don't. There you go. I just wrecked it with metaphors.
Just crushing the elevator puns there. We'll see if we can keep on rolling. The elevator, just joy, the fun of the elevators can go on for days. Let's keep on rolling though, because you mentioned Uncle Mike. You invoked him. Let's give him a little bit of extra time because we are in the post-birthday glow of Uncle Mike. Let's keep on rolling right on into the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, let's give you an update on the most important issue of our day, which is, of course, the greatest wrestling tag team of all time. Uncle Mike, I don't like what you have done here. I'm not sure how you are manipulating Twitter to bend to your whim out here, but right now, 71.4% are for this team that, quite frankly, I didn't really know anything about until I saw some of that dark side of the ring about them. I was like, oh, these guys look kind of like the Powers of Pain. Well, who are these guys? So I wasn't even really familiar with them at all. Yet apparently 71.4% of our audience likes them. Somehow Demolition is number 2 in this poll right now, only 17.9%. I have faith in our audience, though. Get out there, add options. Heart Foundation, 3.6%, and others, including the Funk Brothers, Rock and Sock, and others, hit us up with some other weird others. Those are kind of fun. But intriguing stuff. So, Mr. Uncle Mike, I accuse you of blatant manipulation, sir. What do you have to say?
Do you have baseless claims of voter fraud? Is that what this is?
I think I have some base to mine, sir.
Oh, you have no base to anything. This is the people are speaking out of curiosity. So you have this down here as 1 day left. I thought you said it was a flash poll that expires at the end of the show.
Oh, you know what? I may have hit the wrong button. I tried to hit 1 hour. So maybe we have a day, in which case Demolition can rally. Ha-ha. There we go. An accidental gift.
No. Hold on a second now. Now that's we have the 10,000, the thousands of people in our audience heard you say the end of this hour. So,
so that you know what that is my gift to the audience. Now everyone listening after the fact can play as well. Add options. You actually have a day, not an hour. Just like Nichols in our chat, who says, demolition, baby. I knew I liked the cut of your jib, Nichols. I could tell you were an intelligent fellow. But have at it, Uncle Mike, while I go about trying to see what you've done to our poll.
Okay, so what I want to talk about today is weekend risk. And so oftentimes people think, beginning traders in particular, will often think that, okay, going into Friday, I want to sell some premium as much as I can because of the fact that there's 2 days over the weekend and there's no trading over the weekend. So why not? Why not get some of this free premium? It's free money, right? Wrong. Everybody knows that there's no trading that happens over the weekends unless you want to consider the futures that start trading at 5 o'clock Central on Sunday night. And so with that, because of the fact that everybody knows that, the market will dictate that on Friday afternoon. Now, just being around Chicago for the years with which I have, you'll hear debates amongst all the floor traders. Well, the vol's out by noon on Friday, or the vol's out by 1 o'clock on Friday, or 11 on Friday. I've heard the debate for all of that. But oftentimes, most of the weekend volatility or most of the weekend time decay is gone by the end of the day on Friday. So I would contend that when in doubt, you're oftentimes better off buying premium over the weekend as opposed to being a premium seller. Now, of course, that can change. Volatility can move downward and create an advantage for you. But with that being said, because of the fact that we all know that trading doesn't happen on the weekends, you oftentimes are better off being a premium buyer than a premium seller over the weekend. Now, good things and bad things can happen over the weekend. So in other words, let's just say that we had you're like, okay, Uncle Mike, I like what you're having to say here. I'm going to buy a call option over the weekend. And then all of a sudden we have a cure for cancer, COVID, and everything all in one announced over the weekend. Volatility then goes to single digits over the weekend from 20 to 8, let's say. And then the market rallies. And then you bought this out of the money call because Uncle Mike told you to do it. And then you lose money on it. Well, of course that can happen. So you have to have an understanding of that. But what I do want to have mentioned that's very important is the fact that don't just buy premium for the sake of buying premium. I'm sorry, don't just sell premium for the sake of selling premium. It's not something that you want to do. Now, in terms of the weekend effect and how vol is related to it, I know that the guys over at the Option Pit have plenty of material out there on weekend time decay and weekend volatility effects, and I'd highly encourage you to educate yourself and reach out to them. And that is the strategy block for today, on a day where the Road Warriors are winning, the greatest of our time, the greatest of all time.
I will say you are being accused in our chat, Uncle Mike, of buying votes. So, our chat knows what you're up to, sir. They see what you're doing out there. We can't quite prove it yet, but we're on to you. We're on to you and your little Road Warriors coalition here. We shall get to the bottom of this. Speaking of which, I've been so dragged down into Uncle Mike's abyss of the Road Warriors, I neglected to even mention our actual poll for this week, our actual question of the week, which has been an interesting one so far to see how the numbers are breaking down. Our question is, we've seen an explosion of new options traders enter the market over the past year and a half. So it seemed like a good time to ask you guys, simple question, when did you start trading options? We gave you 4 categories, 4 eras to put yourself in, if you will. First, we have post-pandemic. So that would be pretty much in the last year and a half. And then we have we meant GFC. Somebody posted GRC. We meant Great Financial Crisis. Or the GRC, whatever that is, the greatest Republican combine. I don't know. Whatever you want to put GRC together. So sometime after the Great Financial Crisis of 2008 up until pretty much recently. And then we have the dot-com bust era, so kind of post-2000 all the way into the Great Financial Crisis of 2008. Or we have what we're terming old school, so you come from the business. You're a market maker, you're a trader, so you kind of transcend eras, and you got into it that way. And right now, actually, post-pandemic, so all of you hot and fresh meme kids are leading with 39.4%. So almost 40% of the respondents so far got into options in the last year and a half. That's intriguing, and also, given what we've seen out there, not exactly surprising. It just shows how much the options market and indeed the options product has evolved over the course of the last year and a half. Post GRC, as we're calling it around here. So after 2008, that's next with 36.4%. Then we got a tie for like the dot-com bust era, 12.1%. and the old school market maker trader crowd, which I know we got lurking in our audience as well. I proudly am one of those crew out there. 12.1% as well. So we got some new school, got some old school, got a whole smattering of in between. You can find that one over there at options. Once we kick Uncle Mike's weirdly manipulated poll to the curb, this is our actual question of the week. You can find it over there at options on the old Twitter. As we keep on rolling, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody. You know what happens on Around the Block. It is time for us to tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of this week until we can gather here together on the program on Thursday. We'll start with the man who is not accused of any skullduggery, at least at the moment, the Rock Lobster. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of this week until we can gather here together on Thursday?
Well, I guess Volman hasn't made his reappearance on Twitter now that you guys are dominating Twitter with your TOSAWs there with his own. Who would have thought that TOSAW would be accused of Twitter skullduggery? I had no idea.
It surprises and saddens me as well. You know, we arranged this whole show as kind of a belated birthday gift to him, and what does he do? He ruins it all with his skullduggery and flimflammery.
You got like 100 times the followers that I have, so how on earth am I manipulating this?
I'm not pushing them in any direction. I'm just saying vote with your hearts, but obviously your monetary changing hands has changed things.
So, I'm just coming up with a new post for our subscribers today. Is 18 VIX is the new 16, and 16 was the new 12. And if you look at it, we basically have 3 months now of higher lows in VIX. So those kind of relief vol sell-offs that we have, they're not lasting very long, I have to say. So, we had 4 days of kind of what I would call highly orbiting VIX last week and prior week. So I'm not, and I'm a little contrarian. I think the oil thing's going, I think the commodity thing's going, because I think there's an inflation and there's a shortage thing going, which I think will, but, for the rest of the market, there's a lot of the signal from vol does not look good to me. So all I'm saying, I'm watching the volatility. It's not going down to lower lows. There isn't that. I don't feel that sigh of relief coming. So anyway, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching VIX, and I'm watching the fact that we just cannot keep making higher lows. And it's I have to say, it's been a while since I've seen that. But we just can't get down to that. We can't get down to those levels that are a little bit closer to how SPX is actually trading. So there you go. So I think there's some, as we have said before on the show, there is quoting the force, that they have not revealed themselves. The Sith, the market Sith have not revealed themselves quite yet. So we'll see what happens this week.
The market Sith have not revealed themselves. We have revealed the one Sith in our midst, though. It is Uncle Mike. Who would have guessed that? See the things we learned on our show this week, listeners, full of skullduggery and flimflammery, to coin a phrase. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, when you're not busy out there manipulating things to your whim with your Sith-like powers, what are you keeping an eye on, sir?
Good gosh, you are a sort of. First off, we got another day for the whole poll, and I'm seeing a new set. Marv Levy always said that in times like this, your true character is revealed, and we're really seeing some of your true character here, Mark, and how you're dealing with this. You're accusing me of all these awful things. It's like the New England Patriots accusing a Pee Wee football team of cheating.
Hey, it's not me; it's our chat. Our chat is very wise, intelligent folks, and they've seen through your lies, sir. That's all I'm saying.
Like I said, you got like 1 million times more followers than me, so I don't know how it's possible for me to manipulate this. But anyway, with that, what I am watching is kind of like what Andrew said, just definitely watching oil right now. With oil at 80 is definitely a key number to watch. I'd like to see a little bit more buying before I'm really going back to super bullish mode. I'm only in kind of bullish mode, and I'm not quite flat, but I'm pretty close to flat right now in this marketplace. And so if we get another dip, though, I think it would be an opportunity to buy. But we're kind of in that middle ground area to where it's not really low enough to attract a dip, but not high enough for the momentum.
All right, listeners, that music means we come to a close of this episode full of skullduggery and flammery. But you know what? If you need more in your ear holes, you can thank the Chicago White Sox. You're going to get it today. I was planning to race out right now to try to make game time out there. But you know what? A little bit of apocalyptic storms changing things. So moving things around on our front as well. We will have a great pro Q&A for you tomorrow. Up in the air as to who can make the readjusted times. We'll get all that info for you shortly. It's going to be a good one. Whoever we get out there, we have a couple people lined up for you, so it should be good. But before we go, let's go back around the horn. Let's start with the most skullduggery of them all, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir. Folks want to call you up to call you on your said Twitter skullduggery. Where should they go? What should they do?
Follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW. If you are looking for a financial advisor who really enjoys the option product, feel free to check me out on my website, stcharleswealth.com. And just some fun facts to go by. The Road Warriors beat the Demolition 100% of the time when they wrestled each other, including a six-man tag match where the Ultimate Warrior teamed up with the Road Warriors to take on the Demolition. He had his choice. He chose the Road Warriors, and he chose wisely because he won.
That is not appropriate because they are both from parts unknown, Demolition and the Ultimate Warrior. So clearly they should have been on the same team. And also they are the two most powerful forces in the WWF, so they should have been combined. Making them fight each other was just an apocalyptic error on behalf of Vince McMahon that he shall pay for. Instead, let's keep on rolling. Let's go out. Mr. Rock Lobster, save me from this madness. Where should folks go to learn more about the Land of the Pit?
Come on to optionpit.com. Mark is doing his new flow show, so you can do live with Mark and Andrew on Tuesdays and Fridays. And he's using, if I didn't know any better, there was a product out there that was a flow product that is very popular. It's one of our best-selling products of all time. Just people like the unusual activity, and Mark has really been kind of grinding. But to say he's putting the nose to the grindstone on this stuff. So it's very popular. It's big money flow. And looking at the big money trades, looking behind the trade, seeing if there's back spread, front spread. It's a good product. So anyway, go to optionpit.com memberships. Of course, I run Trading Legion, Capital Gains, and Vol Trade Club, which are having a decent day today, I might add. So anyway, there's lots of good stuff over here if you want to learn about options, want to learn about vol, even old school put writing and stuff like that. All that stuff still works. Just got to learn how to control your dollars. So anyway, come on over to Option Pit and get your learning on.
Get your learning on. Get that big-time money trading going on. If you want big-time crypto money, stay tuned. We'll be back in a little less than an hour now to break down all the action in the world of crypto. And then back again tomorrow at some time, TBD. Keep an eye out for the Twitter and our newsletter there. We'll let you know when the updated times are. Again, blame the postseason in the MLB for all this madness. Then, of course, back again, all our regular programming. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes off well tomorrow. They don't cancel things again. And then into Wednesday and again back on Thursday, another episode of The Option Block. We'll see you then.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.